Hi everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Stephen and Oliver Show. This one we're diving straight in with a great one for Stephen. I can tell he's agitated about this because I've seen, well, not agitated, it's probably the wrong word, but something's happened because he's come in straight away armed with this one. So this one is called What Happens When Your Authenticity Annoys People. So 100% your idea. What's happened? Come on.
It's one of those things, isn't it, where we hear this word sort of bantered around quite a lot now about being authentic. And I guess the challenge is, what if when you are being authentic, it means that you are potentially annoying another person, or by being authentic, you don't get the response that you want to get? And what I'm finding is that some people then are starting to change who they are because of it.
Right.
And I guess what I'm trying to do is flip that around and actually say, you know, be yourself, be authentic. And what really hit me was, and everyone's probably heard me talk about it already, but, you know, the halftime show this year with Kendrick Lamar, and he really stayed true to his beliefs. He didn't try and be, I'm going to do this to increase the ratings, or I'm going to try and do this to follow what's gone historically. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do what I would normally do based on who I am.
Yeah.
And the side effect of that was in the media, some people were really for it, and then some people were really negative about it. So you had the two kind of responses. So it's really more around being your true self. Sometimes might mean that not everyone's happy with that. It doesn't always work for other people. But what I want to say to people is try and be yourself no matter what, because then that gives you the consistency. And not only that, why should you potentially try and change who you are and not be authentic to suit someone else? And it was a really big one because, you know, the media really went after him. But it's actually turned round a little bit in that people have then gone, actually, you've been true to yourself. So being true to yourself, I think, is really the positive thing about that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because this one completely escaped me. So for you who don't know, this was a halftime show at the Super Bowl, because I know not everybody's into it. Now, I'm not a big NFL fan, but I do always tune in for that, because every year I say, well, I'm going to get into this. But unfortunately for me, I picked the Miami Dolphins as my team many years ago, and ever since, they've been rubbish. So my interest fades quite quickly. But I was really surprised, because when I saw the halftime show, I thought it was really cool. It was very impressive. For me, I've always quite liked 90s hip hop, and I kind of got a vibe of that was in it as well, and just nothing but interest in me. So how people can get quite so animated about it is one thing that confuses me. But that authentic self thing, I mean, you talk about this a lot, and it's something I think that I talk about with clients, but I've never really given it that explanation before. And you're absolutely right that the challenge you have when you try to be all things to all people, you're going to fall over, you know, and it's not possible. No. It's absolutely not possible. The only time that it's not easy, but it is much more doable, is at least if you're just staying yourself, you will attract people who are like-minded, who are interested, and those people that aren't will go away. Yeah. Now, challenges with social media and stuff, if you're doing it digitally, then obviously you can get a lot of heat for that, and it's how you cope with that. But you know, I've given quite a few examples on this in previous podcasts about certain people who've got quite a lot of online abuse, and you know, it's remembering where that comes from. You know, the vast majority of these people wouldn't say it to your face. You know, and just remembering that it's not really personal. It's the fact that their lives aren't going well, or that that they've got some crappy things going on. Then the balance of it is, for me, the only thing I'd say in balance is there's being your authentic self, but then there's times when you don't need to say stuff. Even if you firmly believe it, is it necessary to put it all out there? And I think that would be the only thing that I'd throw back your way to see what you think about when you're being authentic. Is it, or can you still be your authentic self by not saying some of the stuff that's going on in your mind to avoid unnecessary conflict or maybe offending people and so forth? How do you see that side of it?
Do you know what, Oliver? That is a really good point, and I think me and you are going to, in this conversation, be quite interesting because from my perspective, that's exactly my point. What tends to happen is people will think about being themselves, and then they will start to backtrack because they realise that they might not be getting the reaction that they thought they were going to get. And that's my point. It's almost like sometimes you've got to believe in yourself and you've got to have that conviction of yourself. And so many people say, "Oh yeah, I want to be authentic," but they're not authentic. And they're not authentic because it doesn't get the ratings all the time. They're not authentic because, just like Kendrick Lamar was trying to highlight a subject matter that was very raw to the bone, but the American public, not all the American public wanted to hear that. But he still thought, you know what, this is the platform, and I'm going to use this platform, and I'm going to talk about some stuff. And I think sometimes being authentic sometimes does mean that the thing that you're talking about and you're debating, the opposite person might not agree. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. Where I've got an issue with it is where I go, what I'm saying is not okay to that person. So what I'm going to do now is change my beliefs. And what I'm going to do now is slightly change what I'm saying. And if I'm honest, and a lot of people that know me well know this, being 30 years old, I was that person. I was that person that used this word compromise, and I would compromise my feelings and my true authentic self, 100%. So I was being the way that I thought that industry, that audience wanted me to be. I wasn't authentic. I didn't start being really, truly authentic until my 30s. And I can honestly say that. So I say this with confidence, and I say it with chest, that it's so easy to not be your authentic self because what you're saying or how, what you're doing is not popular, or someone else doesn't feel comfortable with that. And this sort of goes into being a black male sometimes. People have preconceived ideas of who I am or whether or not I'm being authentic. Sometimes if a black person's being authentic, you'll hear this, you'll go, "Oh, being a bit aggressive there. Oh, that's a bit aggressive." But no, I'm being authentic, I'm being passionate. Or I'll even reverse it. If someone else starts to have that tone, they're passionate. If I do it, I'm aggressive. So this is where authenticness can become one of those things where you can then actually start to what I call numb yourself down or dumb yourself down to suit the audience. So what I'm saying to people is you've got to be true to yourself. You have got to be true to yourself. You've got to be your authentic self and know that that's not always going to be what that person listening to it is going to want. And you've said this many, many times, Oliver. You can't please all the people all the time, but you can please some of the people some of the time. And sometimes you just have to accept you're not always going to get a tick. And this is where social media for me, you can see I've got peanut butter here. This is where social media for me is really damaging because people look at it and go, I have to do what everyone else is doing. I can't be me because everyone else is doing that. Everyone's on their checks. I can't be on the plane because they're all there. So I'm just going to join them. What happens? We lose our individuality. You don't see people taking as many risks. You don't get those light bulb stuff because light bulb stuff only happens when someone generally is on an island on their own trying to work something out. And then they persevere, they keep going and they keep going and they keep going. And then eventually they'll get there. But if they decided to err on the side of caution and jump on the side of the road that everyone else was on, we wouldn't get any inventions. We wouldn't get any new things. We wouldn't have Apple. We wouldn't have Microsoft.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have these things because, we wouldn't have had Amazon. We wouldn't have had these things. It's a person really believing in something, even though everyone else wasn't believing in it, and carrying it through and being their authentic self.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting because, I think about it now, I'm obviously getting old, but when I look at social media and influencers and the amount of people that copy one another, so there's a particular thing with younger women have this sort of crackling at the back of their voice now, which is not natural ever. It's put on and it's copied. And it's like, for me, it grinds. If I let myself get up in my head about it, I'm just like, oh. And there's certain looks that they do and certain way, like even people I know in my family do certain types of smile poses and things. You're like, that's not your smile. That's a pose. So no, absolutely with you. And I remember in my early days doing this, so I've been doing this about 9 years now, I did a social media post about appraisals, and I got pelters from some, what I will still say are idiots, because you're wrong. And initially, though, I was like, oh, I don't know if I should be saying. Then I thought, no, this is what you want, because you're doing that because what I'm saying goes against the way you do things, because you're doing really, really crap appraisals and performance reviews for your people, and you're telling me as an owner of a business that your people are happy. And I was like, no, come on, Oliver, don't be stupid. You're saying that because you own the business. This isn't your staff saying it. This is you telling everybody because you want people to believe that. And that was the first time I caught myself like, no, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't antagonise. But I was focusing on the two idiots and not the other people who liked it, the people who'd come and message me, the clients I was already working with, all the good. I was highlighting these two people because I wasn't used to it, because I wasn't big on social media until I started running this company. I'd never seen the point in it personally. So yeah, I can relate to that. And you're right, to be honest, there is no need to tone it down either, because that was my thing. Wasn't about necessarily changing myself, but could you just see something or feel something and not say it? Well, no, because that's the same problem, isn't it? You're suppressing that point. So I think that's a fair challenge back, to be honest, that there is no need. And ultimately, I feel with this stuff, if you don't think you would be able to say something to somebody's face, then you shouldn't bloody say it. Yeah. It's simple. Doesn't matter what it is. If you're not confident, if you can only do it in front of a camera, then it's not you, is it?
Absolutely. And this is where I think, and I do see the word used a lot, being authentic. I see it used a lot. And I just want to say to people, look, you can be your authentic self, but it does take bravery, because it does. It does. If I walk into the room and I'm going to talk about something that I know is going to be controversial, then I might decide I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want that challenge. If I'm not me 24/7 and I mess up, that hurts. If I'm me and I mess up, it's fine. It's when you're not being yourself and you're not being authentic and then it doesn't work out, it hurts far worse. So I often say to people, be yourself. Whether you get it right or you don't get it right, but try and be yourself. Try and be authentic. And some people use the word, and I don't think they actually believe it either. So you see it bantered around a bit, and it's like, but are you really being authentic? Because that doesn't feel like you. It feels like you're trying to do something different. And I just want to say to people, have the confidence to be authentic, and don't worry about not scoring all the points, not getting the amount of likes that you need to. Because the people that believe in it, the people that understand it, they're the people that are important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the old classic, isn't it? Haters are going to hate. So absolutely, it happens. And it's the thing, I think, how complicated and stressful would it be if you're putting on an act and then that act isn't popular and people are not enjoying it or they're disagreeing with you and you're not even confident in the topic that you're talking about now or the beliefs you have. I saw a TV program not that long ago where a lady had all fake characters and so forth, but she had started coming onto one of these alternative news channels with lots of controversial views. She'd done it because she got traction doing it a couple of times, but she'd got herself into a hole because she was talking about certain things that actually she was anti, but it was found out quickly that she'd actually done it in her past. Right. And, I mean, it's an extreme example. It's obviously a silly example, but she'd really created herself a right hole by not sticking to the truth. And it's that thing about, really, when you're talking about being authentic, you're talking about not lying, aren't you, ultimately?
Absolutely.
And if you lie, you are going to get found out eventually.
Eventually.
If you don't lie, you won't. It's really simple. You may not be the most popular person in school, but you're not going to get found out for BS, are you? It's just not possible because you're sticking to the truth. So, no, I'm absolutely, I'm with you there. I can see why it got you passionate as well. And I think it's, when you talk about people like the really famous celebrities and stuff who are already quite successful, obviously we do accept in some regards, whilst it probably is hard to be in their shoes, it's also probably easier to stick to your beliefs once you've made it. Sure. But most of those people didn't just make it.
No, not at all.
They've got there, and this is the key point, isn't it? They've got there through sticking to what they believed in. Absolutely. So now it's easy. It's easy for them now. They're millionaires. Well, they weren't always. The vast majority, probably 99% or more of people, didn't come from that life and so forth, and they got there through sticking to what they believed in.
Absolutely.
No, so that's my bit. So, what would be your final takeaway from this episode?
For me, it would be true to yourself, to your authentic self, and understand that it's not going to please everyone. And what I think, once you get that bit in your head, I think it's much easier to be authentic. And you know, and I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not. I remember, you know, from working in my young teens right up to 30, a big chunk, you know, at first sort of 25% of my career, I know that I wasn't authentic. I know that I did things because I was trying to cut my teeth.
Yep.
I was trying to learn. I was trying to get it right. So I was nervous, and I wasn't me. I tried to be something else. And then I realized, hold on a minute, if you're going to be successful at this, if you're going to make this really work, then you're going to have to be authentic. Being authentic means you're going to have to be the real Stephen Barmer Walters. And that's who you see today, but it's taken a while to get there. So I'm not saying, oh, you can just like wake up and it all happens. There is a bit of bravery there. It's about consistency. It's about confidence. It's about a number of things. But yeah, so I hope anyone listening to this, if it's really unearthed a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings, because it will do when you really drill down and think, am I really being myself, or am I being what other people want me to be, or am I being what society wants me to be? It can be quite painful. So please reach out and talk.
Yeah, as always, you know, if it's ever triggered you, both of us are always happy to speak. You can get hold of us on Instagram, LinkedIn. We've got our websites with contact details on it. So however you wish to do it, don't suffer in silence, because, yeah, it's stressful. And I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of listening aren't fully there with their authentic self. I'd be quite surprised, because we've gone through a bit of a journey, haven't we?
Absolutely.
To get to where we are, and it's quite a few years of craft to get to that. And you alluded to it earlier, we don't always get it, because we can catch ourselves from time to time, but that's useful that we do that quite quickly. So absolutely, do just reach out to us anytime, but otherwise feel that's a really powerful episode. Hope you've all enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.